work, one whole day to play. Come on, everybody, wear your roller skates today. It's Saturday, 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 it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, yeah.
Hello, friends. A shout out if you're watching on YouTube, IG, and Facebook. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Google, and more, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Career Exploration Saturday. I'm your host, Ebony Tyler. I have real conversations with real people about real jobs. I hope everyone had a reflective and restful, thankful Thursday with their family and friends. So this week, my guest is Kendra Swinton. He works on the corporate side of the music industry. Kendra shares how leaving South Carolina in the 11th grade was a strategic move for college. He shares a few cool internship stories, and Kendra drops a few jewels. You know what? Let's just jump right into my conversation with Kendra Swinton. Hi, Kendra. Welcome to Career Exploration Saturday. I'm so glad to have you here.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I like to start all the conversations. Tell us about who 16-year-old Kendra was. Did you have it all together? Did you know exactly what you wanted to be?
Surprisingly, yes. Surprisingly, I've always been that person that I've always knew what I wanted out of life. And I think at 16, I realized I wanted to go into music. But I've always known that I just wanted a lot and wanted more, and I wanted to go to college. At the time, I feel like I was afraid to admit that I wanted to really pursue music in a way of college because of like listening to like family members trying to get me to like go into different like career fields or whatever. But overall, I do feel like I had it all together. I feel like I'm very much so like the same person. Is that very much so as driven and like wild. I'm maybe less wild because 16 me was very wild. Like, but yeah.
So after high school, you went straight to college?
Yeah. So, yep, exactly. I was gonna say I want to bring up the fact that my journey started in high school with everything, and it's kind of like going off into that, like I've always kind of known what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I wanted to like when I was 16 I wanted to go into the music industry. And I'm from South Carolina, so at the time I was like, oh, I'm in South Carolina, there isn't like no music scene here, and I wanted to go to NYU, but then I was like, we can't afford that.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started thinking about like, oh, so what could be some alternatives? So then I like saw Georgia State, which is like in Atlanta, and we all know like it was big on music. It's big on music, but like even, you know, at the time when I was going to college, it was way, way, way big, having like a huge moment. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. So when I turned 17, I moved. I told my mom I was going to move because I wanted to be in the music industry and I wanted to go to Georgia State. So I moved into my stepmom and my dad's house in Atlanta, Georgia, so I can get in-state tuition to go to Georgia State University.
Smart.
That's smart. It was hard. It was honestly, till this day, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Like for yeah, it was actually really hard. Like, because I grew up with my friends. We went to middle school together, elementary, and high school. And I in my head, you just think as a kid that you're going to go to prom, like you're going to graduate here. And then like to have this epiphany and was like, I want to do this. And then like to make that decision was like so hard, and leave everybody behind, and then see my friends go to homecoming, see my friends go to prom, and I'm at this like school where I don't know anybody. And I cried on my first day of school. Because I was lost and was like, am I making the right choice? I'm only like 17. So yeah, it was really hard.
But do you think it paid off?
It did. It taught me about sacrifices. That was my first lesson in sacrifices.
So
Which I'll let you continue.
what did you major in? What did you major in at Georgia State University?
A lot of things. A lot of things initially, because like I said, like not knowing, not feeling confident to like truly lock in a major. I went in essentially undecided, even though I kind of knew what I wanted to do. But like because of like outside forces, it was just like, no, I don't know. So I went in undecided, and then I did managerial science, and I changed my major because I had to like sit down talk with my stepmom, and we were talking about what I really wanted to do. And I told her, I was like, yeah, like I just really want to do music. And she was like, well, you should just pursue that. So then I decided to major in speech communications. And I liked it.
Now, speech communications, how does that segue into music? Because you work for a music company. So how did majoring and getting a bachelor's degree in speech communication, how did that help you to go ahead and to follow your passion in music?
You know what? I feel like I'm very weird about college and like my major because I feel like I don't use my major, but it helped like with other things like because speech communication like was all about like interpersonal communication, like how to communicate with people, how to understand people. So I would say like my classes definitely like opened my mind to like receiving other people in a different way. But I wouldn't say that it's like, you know, like how, you know, if you major in biology, that like definitely helps you become a doctor.
Right.
But like speech communication just helped me more so be a better human being and understanding of like other people, which just helped me be a better person, which essentially helped my career.
Because in your career, you have to deal with a lot of people just in
A
general.
lot of people.
A lot of personalities.
Yeah, in life, really.
Well, yeah.
But in my career too, and for sure in life. And thinking about it, all those lectures in speech communication, you have to like give like presentations all the time and all that stuff. And I'm sure it did help boost my confidence and like speaking and being in like rooms and not really being afraid. So
let's talk a little bit about you had an internship experience that led to a job. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And like, was that kind of like the jump off into the type of work that you do?
That was a journey. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so I'm gonna start from the beginning. So I didn't know anything about like record labels, right? Well, I just know I wanted to work at one. So the only one that, you know, I knew about was Atlantic Records because everybody talked about Atlantic Records. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go after that one because I know that one. So I ended up finding out. So each record label had like a regional representative. Luckily, there was a regional representative in Atlanta, which is where I was going to school. So and I saw that she was talking on a panel at Clark Atlanta University. Mind you, I go to Georgia State University. So I was like, oh, well, I'm about to sneak up in this panel and I'm about to show out, ask the best questions, do what I got to do. So luckily, I got into the panel and I was asking the best questions. Like I was prepared. Like I had stalked her page and like stalked her job history and like came there knowing that I wanted to leave with something. And she ended up asking, I don't even remember what it was, but she asked some question and she was like, whoever answers this question right can like work this Trey Songz event with me. I answered the question right. That's all I know. I don't even remember what it was, but I just know I answered it right. And I ended up working a Trey Songz event with her. And she just instantly like took a liking to me. Like I was like, I'm gonna kill this event. So I like really, really like made sure I killed that event. And then at the end of it, she was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to work for your company. And she was like, oh, well, you can work like couple of events with me here in Atlanta. And, you know, like I'll call up some people up there and see what I can do. And randomly, this is like separate of her, I ended up getting an email because I had applied for an internship, not for an interview, but for an internship fair, which is where they have a whole bunch of interns come and like interview them. And I was like, yikes, like this is even like an official interview. I don't live in New York, like, but I like begged my mom and she like let me like go to New York and do the internship fair. And I interviewed with a few hiring managers, and two of them loved me, really, really loved me and wanted me to intern for them, Veronica Laney and Jameson Antoine. And Cannon, who I was working with in Atlanta, called me and was like, what are you doing? Like, no, she was like, hey, what's up? What you doing? I was like, oh, I'm actually in New York at this internship fair. She was like, oh, wow, I was calling you to see if you wanted to meet with the people at Atlantic, same building. And I was like, oh my God, like perfect timing. Like I'm here right now. She's like, okay, I'm gonna call them. You can go upstairs and you can talk with them. She called them. I went upstairs, talked with them. They loved me, luckily. And how it happened is that Veronica and Crespo, who was my intern supervisor, they both loved me and they allowed me to intern both with them. So I got to do 2 different departments as an intern.
Wow, what departments were you in?
Radio promotions and marketing.
Oh, wow. Now, what does an intern at a not a radio station, at a record company do? Is it kind of like, you remember Puffy making of the band? Do they make you do grunt work? Like, what do you do? And I'm probably dated myself with that.
You know what? I've done something like that before. Like, I just remember one time I had to go like all the way, like I think it was in Harlem, to like get some Nike socks. But they try not to have it be like that. Like, of course they're going to be like, oh, well, we don't want you to like the HR, which I probably get in trouble for saying this, but they're usually like, they don't want you to like, oh, get the coffees for like the hiring manager. So like they want you to actually learn. But you know, like and now actually being a supervisor and stuff, like I see how busy you are. And then it's like, oh, well, yeah, can you please give me some coffee? So I did a lot of coffee runs. I always like check on everybody, make sure everybody was good, make sure everybody had their lunch. On top of like, you know, I designed a whole lot of email blasts. Like I was designing I learned a lot. I went on like radio runs. Like when we had artists, like my intern supervisor would like trust me to like go on like radio runs with him, where he would take an artist and hop from radio station to radio station to meet the different DJs. Wow. So I helped them out with that. And yeah, I just kind of like organize their calendars. I just kind of like stay on top of everything for them.
That's super cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So
I enjoyed it.
You did?
Mm-hmm. I lifelong mentors, like still my mentors to this day. And it's cool now, like going into the office and like even having meetings with these mentors and I'm talking, and you know, they're listening, and it's just like, it's crazy how everything played out.
So you also worked at a radio station.
Mm-hmm.
Which is with the radio station?
I was on the radio. The radio station, I did Album 88, which is Georgia State's college radio station, which broadcasts at 100,000 watts, which is a lot. And I think it was the first radio station that went on FM in Atlanta, Georgia. And I I just like talked on the radio, and then I was a program director, which basically means that I just stay on top of everything. So like if a DJ called out at like 1:00 in the morning, like I'm on forever call. Like, we can't have dead air on the radio because imagine you listen to the radio and nothing's playing. So that's like the worst thing that could happen. So if like, and these are college students, so more than likely they're going to call out at 2 o'clock in the morning, or if they have a shift at like 4 o'clock in the morning, they're going to oversleep. So I would have to like go in like all times of the night and just like, you know, work. And that's what I did there.
Cool. Wow. So what do you do now? Where are you now? Can you tell us where you work now?
Yeah, I work at the same company, Warner Music Group. I do college marketing. I do social media marketing, influencer marketing. And I work, it's crazy because like I was a college representative for Warner Music Group when I was in college. And now I'm like a supervisor for the college reps as well. So it's like a whole full circle moment. And I just kind of, I create digital events for them. So, I mean, more than likely I do a lot of events. I will say that I do a ton of events. Since I've started my job, I've probably overseen over 100 events. But since COVID has happened, you know, things have moved digitally. So just this week alone, I plan a virtual tour for one of our artists, Joaquin Cooter, which that just entailed like a whole Monday through Friday, building up to his release. We did IG takeovers and he did an at-home performance. So just kind of coming up with cool, creative ways to like do things and like make money in any way that could be.
So what advice would you give a young person who has an interest in music and working in the music industry? Because I kind of feel like when people talk about the music industry, and it like even just now, since things are kind of different, like with streaming and stuff, and from like when I grew up, you know, in the 90s, we had like those big record labels like Bad Boy and So So Def, and Rough Riders, and it just seems like things are a little different now. So how can a young person like access being in the music industry if they want to work for a music company? And is there like a lot of like opportunities for that? Because I mean, from where I sit, I feel like everything's like online, and there isn't, but I don't know because I'm old.
One, I'm gonna start with just saying you're already that person. Just put yourself in that place. I just feel like growing and like learning how the music industry works. It's just like there's really no rules, and like you're really already that person. You just gotta do it. And I think for so long, like we wait on people to tell us it's okay to do things. But if you don't do that and you just like do it yourself, like say you want to be an A&R, you want to sign people, why don't you just start signing people and create your own record label? It's just like you don't have to like wait on somebody to tell you it's okay to actually do marketing. It's okay for you to actually start making connections with like DJs and like that's stuff that you can do on your own. Also, like I did a whole bunch of stuff. Like I made myself. I was just looking at this letter I wrote to myself, and it was just talking about my goals and saying how I wanted to be more of a people's person and be able to like not be afraid of speaking. So I remember I told myself, well, I'm gonna try to go to at least 3 networking events like once a week. Well, and I'm gonna like try to leave with 5 emails every time I go to an event. And I never saw how much that made me like not afraid to talk to people. Because the more you do it, the better you get at it. And so it's just kind of like being disciplined, knowing what you want, also being strategic. Like always don't try to like network up. Like I've seen like the people who I've like grew up in this industry with or like come up with or whatever, like we are coming up together and like we help each other out. You know, it's not like, oh, well, I'm trying to get to the CEO because I feel like the CEO can hire me. It's like, no, I'm going to make these friendships with these people who are just like me and who have like a similar mindset, because my friends who are on the same, they keep me grounded, they keep me level, they keep me like wanting to work hard. They're always chasing something, and we just try to like help each other out. And I feel like there's a ton of opportunities. There's opportunities everywhere. And I honestly don't think there's no city where there isn't an opportunity. I think there's people who don't try to look as hard, because if you think about it, almost every city has a radio station. Almost every city has a recording studio. Almost every city, it's just like these things are like everywhere. You just can't. And these things like are gateways into the record label, because every record label goes to the radio station. Every record label goes through a recording studio. Also, most places have like venues, live venues where you can kind of like work at a show. Managers, artists, they all go through that. So there's opportunity everywhere. I just feel like people don't really care to look. Also, there's also like blogs. Even if you want to do stuff from your computer, there's so much stuff online. You can be a writer for like up and coming like music blog. You know what I mean? There's just so much out there.
So it sounds like you just really have to be creative and think outside the box and then put yourself out there.
Yeah. And really want to like put yourself out there. Like really, you got to really do it. I feel like sometimes people come to me and like ask me, and I'm just like, I don't think you really want it, because if you really want it, you would have found a way. Because there's so many ways. And it's not a set way to make anything happen. It just takes you putting things in practice.
So we have to create our own path.
Yeah.
And you know what I love that you said is network with your peers, people who are your equal. A lot of people don't do that. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna let this like my ice cream truck is going by. Can you hear it?
I can't. It's fine. These are real conversations. So you're in LA.
Yeah, I'm in LA, and that happens like once a day. The ice cream truck from yeah. But to your point, right? The height of the afternoon. To your point is, and the thing is, like, I don't know, like, I just feel like people don't be wanting things bad enough. Like, it's so easy. It's honestly easy, I would say. Like me, I used to do these things. I don't do them anymore, but I used to do these things called creative brunches in Atlanta. Because I've networked so much. I just networked with so much. I have so many like friends now that do the same thing. And I'm like, wow, I feel like all my friends should meet each other. So I just started like doing a brunch and like getting everybody together so they can connect. And when I tell you, now that I've done that, like I've made so many more connections. I would tell my other friends that are coming to bring other people to the brunch. So that way we all meet each other and we all like work out with each other. I know one girl named Ashanti, she's in Atlanta. Now that I want to start like learning how to like direct music videos, she directs music videos. So I just hit her up, who I met through the brunch, and was like, if you ever come to LA, like I would love to just like be on set and like watch and learn. And now I have that rapport with her.
So when we were talking offline, you had shared with me that you have your current role, but you're also even though you work for the company, you're kind of like interning in other areas. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the other areas?
Yeah. So when COVID happened, like a lot of things slowed down, and we got the opportunity to just like work in other departments. And honestly, I was like, a lot of things that happens, like people just don't take advantage. I'm a firm believer of taking advantage of like opportunities and like seeing every opportunity as a big opportunity. Like even like speaking with some people that at my company, they didn't take advantage of the opportunity. And I'm like, I'm gonna do this. So I started working in litigation, and honestly, it's just been so rewarding, because if I didn't do that, I probably would never touch anything that had to do with legal, because like, who does that unless you're a lawyer?
Right.
So now I'm learning things that I just didn't know about, like copyright infringement and how my company makes money, how my company, you know, what they do when they send out cease and desist, why they send out cease and desist, like how all of that works. And I kind of just started going with that. And that gave me the idea to like reach out to the A&R department, because I always wanted to do, essentially, I want to be a product manager, which is marketing, and do A&R. So I'm like, well, you know, I'm sure that they need help because they're not getting interns. So I wonder if there's any way, if I can give like 5 hours of my time a week to like help them out, and I can start gaining A&R experience on top of the experience that I'm already gaining. So when a job role do open up, I can say, hey, I took the initiative to do this for X amount of time on top of my job, and I did it successfully. So that alone just shows how much I really want it. Now I can be an A&R and a product manager because I now have both that experience. Does that make sense?
No, it does. That makes a lot of sense. So listen, Kendra, this was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And I feel like I've learned so much about the music business, more of the corporate side of it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to. I hope people do what you got to do. Do what you're already. Whoever is listening, like, I just do what you got to do, and like just be that. You're already that person. You're already who you want to be. And I'm a Christian, and I do believe that God, like, put these things and these ideas in your head. Like, the reason you thought of that, there's a reason why you have that idea. There's a reason why you think you want to be this person. Like, it was put there for a reason and put there for you to do it.
You know what? We're going to leave it right there. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kendra. So a few takeaways are his college major of speech communications made him a better person in life and in his career. 2, network with your peers. Build relationships with people coming up with you. This will help you in your career as well as building relationships with mentors. And 3, you are already the person you want to be. Just put yourself in that place and do it. Don't wait for people to tell you that it's okay. It's okay now. Thank you so much, Kendra, and welcome to the Liberated Success family. Shout out to Chef Terrence for introducing us to Kendra. So I hope you have been following us on IG and Facebook this week. I did a Meet the Board this past week, and I wanted you to meet the dynamic women behind Liberated Success as we continue to build this nonprofit through grassroots community organizing. And as we continue in this giving season, we would love if you made a gift to Liberated Success to contribute to the economic growth of our community through career exploration. The link is in my bio on IG and Twitter. It's the first comment on Facebook. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can make a donation via listener support. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening all the way to the end. We will save ourselves. Wear your mask, wash your hands, physically distance, and all Black Lives Matter. See you next week. Bye.
One whole day to play. Come on, everybody.